Part 1. The Discovery. John and Sara had just moved into the old Hargrave House, a creaky, century-old structure nestled deep in the woods. At first glance, the house seemed perfect, a charming fixer-upper with plenty of potential. But while cleaning the dusty attic one afternoon, John stumbled upon something strange. He noticed an oddly placed loose floorboard in the living room below. Curious, he pried it up, revealing a small, dark crawl space beneath the house. The air that rose from it was cold and damp, sending a shiver down his spine. What disturbed him more was the faint sound, almost like whispering, coming from below. At first, John thought it might be a draft, but the sound was persistent. That night, as he lay in bed, he heard it again, the faintest of whispers echoing from beneath the floorboards. Unsettled, John vowed to explore the crawl space the next day, convinced there was more beneath their new home than met the eye. Part 2. The Crawl Space. The next morning, John couldn't shake the unsettling feeling from the night before. Grabbing a flashlight, he returned to the loose floorboard. Sara, curious but cautious, watched from the doorway. John descended into the cramped crawl space, the cool air hitting him immediately. It was dark, damp, and smelled of mold and decay. As his flashlight flickered, something caught his eye, a set of old, rusted tools lying abandoned in the dirt. But more unnerving was the sensation that he wasn't alone. The whispering grew louder, a faint, pleading voice echoing through the crawl space. "Help us." John froze. The voice was faint, but unmistakable. Startled, he backed out of the crawl space, breathing heavily. Sara, seeing his pale face, asked what he'd found. "I don't know," John whispered, "but something's down there." Part 3. The Nightmares. That night, John and Sara both had unsettling dreams. John dreamt of being buried alive, his screams muffled by the weight of the earth. Sara dreamt of shadowy figures standing around their bed, whispering in a language she couldn't understand. Both woke up in a cold sweat, feeling the oppressive weight of the house pressing down on them. As the days passed, the whispering beneath the floorboards became more frequent. John grew obsessed with finding out what was buried beneath their home. He started spending more time near the crawl space, listening to the faint voices calling out from below. "Help us. We're trapped. Please." Sara, worried about John's growing fixation, suggested they bring in an expert. But John refused. "I need to figure this out myself," he insisted. "There's something down there, and it's not going to leave us alone." Part 4. The Hidden Past. Determined to understand the history of the house, Sara began digging into its past. She visited the local library and discovered that Hargrave House had a dark history. Decades ago, the original owner, a reclusive man named Samuel Hargrave, had mysteriously disappeared, along with several of his hired workers. Rumors swirled that Hargrave had been involved in occult practices and that something had gone terribly wrong beneath the house. Some believed that the workers had been sacrificed, their bodies buried beneath the floorboards. Others claimed that their restless spirits still haunted the property, trapped in the crawl space where their lives had ended. Sara rushed home to tell John what she had learned. But by the time she arrived, it was too late. John was already in the crawl space, digging deeper into the earth. Part 5. The Awakening. As John dug, the whispering grew louder, more urgent. "Help us. Free us." Suddenly, his shovel hit something hard. He cleared away the dirt, revealing a rotting wooden box. His heart raced. As he pried it open, inside he found a pile of bones, fragile and covered in dust. The moment he touched them, the whispering stopped. The air around him grew heavy, suffocating, as if the house itself was holding its breath. John stumbled back, horrified. But as he tried to leave the crawl space, the ground beneath him shifted. The house groaned, and the floorboards above creaked, as though something massive and unseen was stirring. Sara, hearing the commotion, rushed to the living room, calling out for John. But all she could hear was the low, guttural sound of something moving beneath the floorboards. Part 6. The Final Escape. John crawled out of the hole, breathless and covered in dirt. "We have to leave," he gasped, his face pale. "Now." Without a word, Sara grabbed their keys and they rushed to the front door. But as they tried to leave, the door slammed shut on its own. The whispering returned, louder and more menacing this time. "You cannot leave. Not until we are free." Panicked, they ran to the back door, but it too was sealed shut. The windows rattled violently, and the floorboards beneath their feet trembled. The house wasn't going to let them go. Desperate, John grabbed Sara's hand and led her back to the crawl space. "We have to go through the floor," he said, his voice shaking. "It's the only way out." As they descended back into the darkness, the whispering became a deafening roar. The house shook violently, and the walls seemed to close in on them. But just as they reached the crawl space, the voices suddenly stopped. For a brief moment, everything was silent. Then, with a deafening crash, the floorboards above gave way, and the house collapsed in on itself, burying John and Sara beneath the rubble, beneath the floorboards, where they too would remain trapped forever. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're the first to know when I upload new content.